If there are blue skies out your window this morning, you might be considering spending some time in the great outdoors. We Aussies are well known for our love of outdoorsy activities, and we boast some of the best bushwalks in the world. But a recent survey has found our survival skills are a little lacking.
The research found 2/3 of us don't know what to do if we get lost, and only 40% feel confident with basic first aid while hiking. So to get some tips on safe hiking, we're joined now by Sam Cuff from walking holiday tour operator Life's an Adventure. Sam, welcome to Weekend Breakfast.
Thank you. Good morning.
For our viewers who might be thinking, gee, I'd love to go on a bushwalk or even my first overnight hike, but feel a bit daunted by the prospect and don't know where to start, where should they start?
Yeah, sure. So all national parks and wildlife services around Australia have fantastic resources for people to go and have a really good look and see, the types of different walking opportunities there are in their particular part of Australia. We're really fortunate in Australia. There's a myriad of different walking opportunities for people to explore. So firstly, it's really important for people to be prepared, do their research, understand the type of walk they might want to do, and then that gives them an idea of the types of equipment that they might need to bring and who they might take with them.
And I know you've been in the game a while. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see inexperienced walkers make?
Yeah, no, it's definitely about not being prepared. So, there's some really key things that people need to think about when they're going out into the natural environment. I mean, it's such a beautiful place, but it can also turn deadly quite quickly too. So, a couple of things for people to think about are one, obviously being prepared with the right equipment. So whether that's having a good quality raincoat, nice warm clothing, good footwear, also thinking about, appropriate sun protection. So the clothing and equipment is important. Secondly, communication. So obviously in some of our beautiful natural areas around Australia, we don't have phone reception. So having a personal locator beacon or EPIRB is really important. So if you do get in trouble, then that can provide people the ability to communicate with emergency services. First aid. A first aid kit is good, so with a safety blanket, which gives people the ability to stay warm if there's an emergency. Similarly, a snake bandage is always a good idea, so an appropriate first aid kit for walking in wilderness areas around Australia. Maps are good, so again, a physical map is good, but even better today we have, maps that people can download onto their phones, and that gives them the ability to see where they're going, both when there is phone reception, but also offline. So there's some of the key critical things people need to think about.
GPS maps have really changed the game for people. And Sam, I know water is a big one. I'm a big hiker. When I started hiking, this was the thing that really threw me because you can only carry a few litres at a time. So it's difficult to know where your next refill is going to be and how clean that water is going to be. What advice can you give to people about their water?
Sure. So again, research is critical and being prepared. So what's important is, yes, you need to have 2 to 3 litres of water for every hour or so of walking, depending on the temperature. But understanding where you're going, doing your research. So, in some places around Australia, there's water tanks that are, the infrastructure in parks and reserves around Australia is good. So doing your research, calling the local parks authority to see if there's a water tank where you're going. And then, if there isn't any water, then there are options to treat water for you to be able to drink that. You can also do food and water drops. So doing that research is absolutely critical. You're right. I had the privilege of taking my kids on their first overnight walk about a couple of months ago. And I think I carried about 10 litres of water for them to facilitate a safe, nice experience for them. But certainly, that's not achievable for most people. So heading to where there's a water tank is a good idea. And even I'd say for people who want to, have a taster of their first short walk into a wilderness area, that's probably a good place to start as well. Is just 2 or 3 hours, a nice little taster, and then you're not lugging too much water around with you.
10 litres, I can't believe that. And all your gear on top of that, you would have had one heavy pack. Finally, Sam, I just wanted to ask you, for people who don't follow your advice, maybe don't plan very well, their GPS fails perhaps, they do find themselves lost in the middle of the bush. It's a scary place to be. What should they do?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, firstly, I'd say your GPS, doesn't fail. So it's being prepared and having, a personal locator beacon that you can use if you do become lost, or if there is an emergency situation. So always have that on hand. If you're walking with another person, then ensure that, and I should encourage people to walk in small groups. It's always safer to walk with other people in small groups. Um, Understand where the PLB is so that if one person gets unwell, then the other people know where that is to access it. Then to stay put. It's always much safer to stay put and wait for emergency services to arrive. And the other thing I'd say is that, we're really lucky in Australia, and getting out into nature is just a fantastic opportunity for people to digitally disconnect. We're so busy, we're rushing around, we're always on our phones, or our devices. So, I'd encourage people to get out into the beautiful natural environment that Australia has in riches, disconnect from their phones for a moment, be present, stop, listen, breathe in the beautiful fresh air. And, that's a great way of recharging your soul.
Oh, amen to that, Sam. Sam Cuff from Walking Holiday Tour Operator, Life's an Adventure. Thank you so much for joining us on Weekend Breakfast.
No problems. Cheers, Ruby.